Hello. Geologists admit that humans have little or no control of the natural causes of erosion and that all practices capable of speeding up the phenomenon should be stopped. Our program today is on erosion. You are welcome to Weekend File. Since the beginning of this century, the incidence of erosion in Nigeria formed a subject matter for serious consideration. Gully and other types of erosion occur in many parts of the country under different geological, climatic, and soil conditions, but the degree of occurrence varies considerably from one part to the other. Observations have shown clearly that erosion is more prevalent in sedimentary terrain in the basement complex of Nigeria and therefore limits and of course, in its various scales of activity, adjacent villages and towns in the affected areas have been separated. Bridges linking them collapse. In other places, facilities such as schools, hospitals, and water supply systems shared by neighboring communities may become inaccessible as gullies of staggering magnitude threaten. Erosion has also given rise to infertile and barren land, bringing hardship to farmers across the country. The phenomenon of gully erosion is more prominent in the southeast of Nigeria, with Anambra State topping the list. And geologists say this monumental environmental hazard can be naturally or artificially induced, and that prevention and adequate awareness on effects of human activities on both floodplains and river channels should be adopted. For many decades, successive governments have intervened at various levels to combat erosion, but its occurrence has persisted. On tonight's program, we will do a critical analysis of the situation in the reports coming from our correspondents across the nation. And our guest is Felix Okeke, Director, Soil Erosion and Flood Control Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. My name is Kirian Umayo, and this is Weekend File, the 32nd edition of the program for the year 2018. You are in good company, and the news comes first. Now, in case you have forgotten, by-elections to fill in 2 vacant senatorial slots in Katsina and Bauchi, and as well as the House of Representatives in Kogi, were conducted today. Results of the elections are being awaited. And we will, of course, give you a feedback as soon as we get information. Now, Acting President Professor Yemi Osinbajo has challenged Nigerian youths to join in the fight against corruption by standing for the truth at all times, as the future of the country lies in their hands. Professor Osinbajo was speaking at the 30th Biennial Conference of Students' Christian Movement of Nigeria, held at the Cathedral Church of Good Shepherd, Enugu. Ijeoma Ugweke has the report.
The biennial conference, which seeks to impart key leadership and spiritual development on young people, brought together youths from different backgrounds, Christian denominations and schools. Acting President Professor Yemi Osinbajo, speaking on the role of youths in nation building, reminded young people of their distinct role as Christians and future leaders. He said for the nation to be successful, there is the need to adopt the principles of righteousness, transformation, and renewal of mind. He advised them not to celebrate evil and false information, especially from the social media, intended to cause disunity in the country.
Our role, first and foremost as Christians, in order that we preserve this nation for ourselves and for generations yet to come, to check the impunity of stealing the resources of the land.
Governor Ugwuanyi, while appreciating the theme of the conference, a highway of holiness, challenged Christians and all leaders to amend their ways and seek the face of God in all, as well as pray for peace and unity of the country.
Our leaders and citizens alike must resolve to always do what is right in the sight of God and to promote virtuous living, social justice, and love for our neighbors in all that we do.
Archbishop Enugu Anglican Ecclesiastical Province, Most Reverend Emmanuel Chukwuma, urged the federal government to remember the young people and let peace reign among all arms of government. In Enugu, Ijeoma Ugweke, NTA News.
And now to political matters with a concern on the by-elections held across some parts of the country. Now, the Katsina North senatorial by-election has been conducted peacefully in the 12 local governments of the area. The by-election followed the death of Senator Mustafa Bukar. Correspondent Bashir Bala reports.
The Independent National Electoral Commission commenced the conduct of the election on time, and turnout of voters was impressive in most of the polling units. The verification of names and accreditation of voters began at about 8 a.m., while casting of votes began by about 9 a.m. at various polling centers visited by NTA correspondents. NTA observed that voters trooped to their respective polling stations to cast their votes peacefully, devoid of any violence. However, the election was not without its own hiccups. Some of the problems encountered during the election are missing names of registered voters and rejection of PBCs by card readers at few polling units. The All Progressives Congress Party candidate Ahmed Baba Keita could not cast his vote as the card reader could not read his permanent voter's card. At about 3 p.m., counting of votes in some polling units has already started. Sana Bishir Bala, NTA News.
Still on election, the Lokoja Kogi Cotton Karfe Federal Constituency election was held today. Solomon Ayedehin reports that apart from a few hitches in some polling units, the exercise was hitch-free.
The Lokoja Kogi Koto Federal Constituency has 21 wards, and in all these wards, eligible voters came out as early as 8 to exercise their franchise. The contest, which was to replace the late Buba Jubril in the House of Representatives, had 9 candidates from various political parties standing for the election. At the various polling units visited in Cotton Karfe and Lokoja, voters were seen exercising their franchise as accreditation and voting were carried out simultaneously. Some of the voters who spoke to NTA News described the exercise as fair.
The process is free, very free. There's no confusion.
People are enthusiastic to vote.
Although some youths were seen trying to interrupt the process.
The voting were going on when some people came again. Some unknown faces came and they start beating our people.
The resident electoral commissioner in Kogi State, Professor James Apam, who went around some of the polling units, commended the turnout and the conduct of the voters.
The fact that people have turned out in large numbers shows that there's a much of enthusiasm.
Results of the election are being collated in the constituency. In Lokoja, Solomon Ayedehin, NTA News.
And from Bauchi comes a report that the by-election for Bauchi South Senatorial District was conducted peacefully in all the 7 local government areas of the zone. Correspondent Abbas Mekano reports that the election was to fill the vacancy resulting from the death of Senator Ali Wakili of the APC.
12 political parties participated in the by-election with between 80 to 90% participation of registered voters, while turnout of voters in so many polling units is impressive. Of the challenges like late arrival of election materials, rejection of voters' fingerprints by the smart card reader, and in some cases malfunctioning of the card reader. The National Electoral Commissioner supervising Bauchi, Gombe and Yobe states, Alhaji Shatima Baba Arfu, in an interview with journalists, described the process as generally impressive.
This is going on very, very successfully. The turnout was also very large. Every station we went, people were in long queues, in double queues and triple queues. So, very, very encouraging, actually.
Similarly, Governor Abubakar, in company of his wife, Aisha Abubakar, cast their votes at Makama B electoral ward in Bauchi Metropolis.
You can see it was very, very smooth. I was accredited quickly and I was able to vote without any hassle.
In Bauchi, Abbas Mekano, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Comrade Adams Oshomole, says the current political development will help the party build and sustain people's confidence for progressive politics in Nigeria. Reacting to unfolding events at the 8th Senate, Comrade Oshomole emphasized that the APC will henceforth ensure that those who occupy leadership positions under the banner of the party do so by conscious choice. Political correspondent Salihu Abdullahi has the report.
Article 7 of the APC Constitution states that the aims and objectives of the party shall be to, among other things, consciously pursue the implementation of the policies and programs of the party through its members that are appointed or elected into government, legislative houses, and boards throughout the federation. This presupposes that the legislators elected under the platform of APC are accountable to the party. In view of the current happenings, particularly defections from the governing APC, the leadership under Comrade Adams Oshomole blamed leadership of the legislative arm of government under Bukola Saraki, whose loyalty to the party remained questionable right from the day he emerged president of the Senate.
In support of my thesis that the Senate President, Senator Bukola Saraki, has never acted with the Nigerian national interest in view, my final submission: every government around the world, every democratic government, we do everything possible to ensure that in an election year, it is seen to be working for the people of the country. The federal government, under President Muhammadu Buhari, Nigerians expected that it will do everything possible this year to make up for lost time in terms of budget implementation and addressing critical infrastructure, without which sustainable development is impossible.
On the leadership tussle in the 8th Senate, Comrade Oshomole says what Nigeria requires now is leaders who are ready to work in line with the party's vision, unlike the executive arm of government under President Muhammadu Buhari, to sustain the ongoing fight against corruption, boost economy, and as well create an enabling environment for democracy to thrive.
You can't borrow from foreign countries, foreign loans, without the express endorsement of the Senate and the House of Rep. While these loans were pending, and without those loans, the budget cannot be implemented, particularly the infrastructural component of the budget cannot be implemented. Senator Saraki, putting his personal interest and the safety of his office over and above national interest, choose to adjourn the Senate ahead of schedule and leave these huge, serious national issues unattended.
The APC national chairman called on Nigerians to shun actions capable of undermining democracy irrespective of political party affiliation. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi, NTA News.
Now, aiming to strengthen bilateral relations, Nigeria and Democratic Republic of Sao Tome and Principe are discussing funding strategies, diversification of the Joint Development Authority, status of the bilateral air service agreement BASA, amongst other issues of economic interest. Ngufan Shaju reports that a communique was signed at the end of the talks.
Celebrations and talks between the Nigerian delegation and the Satomian delegation, issues of status of bilateral loans and debt and possible ways by which the Satomian government can repay back the loan was raised, as well as encouraging and expanding robust collaborations in the area of agriculture, agro-businesses, value chain, commerce and trade.
People are getting much more money from fisheries resources than what we get from oil. And so if we harness our water resources, our fisheries resources, chances are that it will be an effective way of substituting.
Well, as you're well aware, there hasn't been a meeting in Sao Tome, between Sao Tome and Nigeria since 2014. In order to resuscitate the relationship between Sao Tome and Nigerian Joint Development Authority, and also to meet with the Foreign Ministry, the Ministry of Agriculture, the Justice Ministry, the Ministry for Defense, the Finance Ministries, to intimate and discuss which ways forward.
Following these conclusions, a communique was adopted by the two countries.
So this is looking forward to more deliberations come September in the capital city of Nigeria. From the Democratic Republic of Sao Tome and Principe, I am Gufan Shaji, NTA News.
Thank you, Ngufam. And back home, the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons has provided educational and relief materials to internally displaced persons taking refuge in Abuja in the FCT. Ifeanyi Zumba was there for NTA News.
Are from communities involved in crisis between neighboring Nasarawa and Kogi states. Presenting the relief materials in Abuja on behalf of the Federal Commissioner, Sadiya Farouk, the Director, Refugee and Migration, Lawal Hamidu, said the gesture was to alleviate their conditions while making efforts to help them return to their homes.
Food items for the IDPs. The Commission. We are presenting to you cultural support for the IDPs.
Receiving the items, the Director General of the FCT Emergency Management Agency, Abbas Idris, emphasized that both agencies are working together to address humanitarian challenges in the territory. Items donated: food items, educational materials, farm inputs, as well as other household items. In Abuja, Ifeanyi Zumba, NTA News.
The erosion map of Nigeria shows that all parts of the country are susceptible to erosion of varying types and degrees. We will be better informed by our correspondents who have sent in reports on the situation in the affected areas. And of course, the intervention machinery or mechanism being applied by government and other stakeholders to combat it. This is Weekend File, and I'll be right back in just a moment.
Smartphone network.
The old one don't vamuso as the new one land the bam. Better bop inside every chop we get inside chef seasoning cube. 10 Jara cubes dey inside the 100 cube packets and 5 Jara cube inside the 50 cube packets. Go buy your own now before the Jara then finish. Mr. Chef, the jollyment you not go forget.
The House Committee on Sports cordially re-invites all stakeholders in the sports sector to a 2-day National Sports Summit with the theme Growing Nigeria's Sports from Grassroots for Championship, Excellence and Sustainable Development under the distinguished chairmanship of Governor Akinwumi Anbode, Governor of Lagos State, Co-Chairman Barrister Nyesom Wike, Governor of Rivers State, Special Guest of Honor Barrister Solomon Dallo, Honorable Minister of Sports and Youth Development, Chief Host and Keynote Speaker Right Honorable Yakubu Dogara, Speaker House of Representatives, Co-Host Alhaji Mohammed Bello, Honorable Minister of FCT, Royal Father of the occasion, His Royal Highness Muhammad Sanusi II, Emir of Kano. Fathers of the day, General Yakubu Gowon retired, Ibrahim Gaidam, Governor of Yobe State, Oba Otudeko. Mother of the day, Mrs. Aisha Buhari, wife of the President. Eminent guests, Executive Governors of 36 states of the Federation. Date 14th and 15th August 2018. Venue, Nikon Luxury Hotel Abuja. Time 9 a.m. daily. Other important guests include NOC President and President of Sports Federation, State Commissioners of Sports, State Directors of Sports, Directors of Sports in Ministries, Departments and Agencies. Resource persons are Professor Shewun Omotayo, Michelle Obi, William Babatunde Fowler, Executive Chairman FIRS, Professor Ebenezer Murakenyo, Dr. Al-Hassan Yakmut, Dr. Mohammed Sanusi, Short Talk, Shagun Odegbami, Angelo Peter Elosia, Amaju Pinnick, Professor Nebath Tanglang, Dr. Kweku Adedayo Tando. Discussants, Dr. Amos Adamu, Dr. Patrick AKG, Dr. Ademola Are, Director of Grassroots, President, NAFHERS. For more information, please contact Okeyinka Matthew, Global Sports Consult, 0818-552-2268, 0805-238-3336. Suleiman Fatai, Clerk, House Committee on Sports on 0806-771-3438, 0818-556-8873. This announcement is proudly sponsored by NTA, Africa's largest TV network. Announcer, Honorable Guli Bukarlawan, Chairman, House Committee on Sports.
Fake news which is shared for malicious purposes is a danger to our peace and security in Nigeria. Misinformation as fake news is a serious threat to our hard-earned democracy and promotes hatred and misunderstanding between our communities. We are all responsible for stopping the spread of fake news in its tracks. So, always check the source and credibility of any news item. Say no to fake news. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
Thanks for staying with us, and now to the program proper. It is agonizing watching one's farmland and buildings being eroded by forces of nature. This is the stark reality humanity has come to face. The government is taking the bull by the horns to bring this hydra-headed monster called erosion to its feet. However, is the federal government making headway in this battle? Mayor Ogidi has the answer.
Almost all the states in Nigeria face the challenge of gully erosion, though more pronounced in the southeastern part of the country. This disturbing situation to the attention of the Okigbo Commission between 1979 and 1980, and the subsequent recommendation of Special Fund in 1981 through the Federation Account Act of 1981. The fund, which was initially 1% of the Federation account, was reviewed upwards to 2% in 1991 and later 1% from the Derivation Fund, totaling 3%, and managed by the Ecological Fund Office under the Presidency. This fund is shared among the 3 tiers of the government. However, the burden seems more on the federal government, as revealed by the demands from the states and the local governments.
States and local governments will also demonstrably apply their own share of the fund to ameliorate some of the ecological problems in their own areas.
Statistics from the Ecological Fund Office show that as of March 2018, about 2,890 ecological sites are seeking for attention at states and local governments across the country, estimated at 1.1 trillion naira, while the Ecological Fund Office gets only between 12 and 15 billion naira quarterly to address this overwhelming environmental disaster. However, the federal government from 2015 to date has carried out remediation of 88 ecological sites.
As we are going, almost every state of the Federation has benefited in one project or another.
There is, however, a ray of hope for more communities to soon benefit from the federal government's readiness on reclaiming lost land, as the Federal Executive Council on August 2018 made another heartwarming approval for 12 states to tackle ecological problems.
The sum of 12,104,882,000 naira was approved for 12 ecological projects.
Apart from the Ecological Fund Office, the federal government and the World Bank, through the Nigeria Erosion and Watershed Management Project, NUMAP, is partnering in tackling erosion problems in 23 states across the country.
A comprehensive erosion and watershed management project. So all activities that are lined up within that context are the major focus of this project.
For those in charge of the reclaiming and preventing further erosion in the country, it is a work in progress. Mayor Ogidi, NTA News.
Thank you, Mayor. Gully erosion and flooding are some of the ecological challenges bedeviling the people of Abuja. This recurring phenomenon necessitated the FCT Minister Mohammed Musa Bello to solicit assistance from the Ecological Fund Office to address the challenge. Shoaibu Onoze Yakubu was at the inauguration and handing over of the project.
The problem of gully erosion and flooding in Abuja Area Council is an age-long ecological challenge facing the community that requires urgent intervention. The federal government, through the Ecological Fund Office, has embarked on a series of ecological intervention projects across the country. The completed Abaji gully erosion and flood control works is to permanently address the menace in the community. In the past, this particular spot used to be a nightmare for the people living around this area. But the story today is different with the completion of this very important project.
We are so grateful for this effort now. Thank you God to assist this government to come to Abuja to a greater height.
At the inauguration and handing over of the project, President Muhammadu Buhari, represented by the FCT Minister Muhammad Musa Bello, advised residents of Abaji to make judicious use of the project by avoiding indiscriminate dumping of refuse in drains.
I congratulate you for this project and I appeal to you to please maintain the project, ensure that it serves your community for a very long time. And I assure you the government of Muhammadu Buhari is going to continue with other projects here in your city.
Permanent Secretary, Ecological Fund Office, Habib Lawal says the project was initiated after a request for an urgent intervention by the FCT Minister.
The commissioning and handing over of the project to the benefiting community is expected to achieve the dual purpose of enabling the host community to take overall ownership of the project and also to ensure its maintenance and sustainability.
Chairman Abaji Area Council Abdurrahman Ajia and the owner of Abaji, His Highness Adamu Baba Yunusa, commended the federal government for the prompt response in addressing the ecological challenge threatening the community.
This ecological challenge, which was handled with high level of professionalism and technical experience, is quite commendable. People of Abaji, they will remain grateful for this gesture.
According to the Ecological Fund Office, it now behooves on the community to own and maintain this project to ensure its sustainability. From Abaji Area Council, Shuaibu Onozeakubu, NTA News.
The reconstruction of the Ahmadu Bello University Kaduna Farm Dam by the Ecological Fund Office has brought about an increase in agricultural activities in the university community and environment. In addition to the threats on the social life, this is the view of stakeholders who spoke on the impact of the project. Tina Turu reports.
Before now, the Ahmadu Bello University Farm Dam was a shadow of itself as it was taken over by gully erosion. The devastation was such that farming and other agricultural activities were impossible in the community. The Ecological Fund intervention brought a turnaround.
So you can imagine what kind of irrigation, what kind of farming one can think of within the university. And being academic environment, there are a lot of teaching and research taking place.
The Farm Dam project is one of many projects carried out by the Ecological Fund Office across the country. The project, which was inaugurated in May this year, was reconstructed using innovations that will help sustain all year-round farming, boost tourism, and tackle gully erosion.
In the construction, a lot of effort was put in the spillway so that when flood comes, instead of overtopping the dam, it will pass through the spillway and go downstream.
Some farmers who spoke with Weekend File say the project has brought relief not only to the environment but in their socio-economic lives.
The project, because we can now farm on land we couldn't farm before. Before the intervention, the area was inaccessible, but now we can carry on with our farming activities, especially irrigation farming, as we now have enough water.
The Ahmadu Bello University Farm Dam has 363 hectares of farmland, which makes it strategic to economic stability and food security. Tina Turu.
Maiduguri, which is located on the north bank of the seasonal rain Ngada suffers recurring flood and erosion devastation annually, causing various damages to its close surroundings. However, Pauline Kuje Wana in this report tells us how government's intervention 2 years ago changed the future of those residing around the river.
Madoganari bypass, known to be almost unmotorable and insecure for residents 2 years ago due to flooding and erosion. But now, it's one of the developed areas in Maiduguri as the ecological challenges have been brought to control. For instance, in Madoganari Police College, Rivers, Gadabul and Alo areas of the metropolis, the social and economic life of the residents were affected until the government put in place flood and erosion control structures such as gabion walls, drainage channels, stone pitching, dike to contain volume of water as well as grassing and dredging.
Those two boys' quarters you are seeing was under threat. In fact, they were hanging. But fortunately, we came in to intervene and we rescued the situation. It be local government, Kukurupu or Yelwa, and Shani local governments, where the township is every year threatened by flood and erosion. But today, it's a clear, free-flowing water.
This intervention has greatly brought relief to the communities which has suffered colossal loss and damages in the past.
Before we cannot stand here, no more eroded as before. And now we are grateful to the government.
The area now is movable. As you can see, some cars are moving into the area.
Actually, before you hardly found a single workshop that they operate more than 2 or 3 vehicles in a day. But with the development of the new road, we have more than 6 to 10 vehicles that you used to operate in a day.
Similar proposed projects by the state government are on the way.
You can see right behind me at the side of the wall there are a lot of erosion as a result of the steepy nature of the soil. We will start taking care of these problems as you are seeing them.
Borno state government has keyed into the federal government and World Bank erosion and flood control project to check the menace. In Maiduguri, Pauline Kujevana.
Tackling the menace of erosion in the southeast is no doubt a Herculean task, but government's intervention at some of the sites have paid off, and the benefiting communities have heaved a sigh of relief. Susan Eze reports on some of the projects completed courtesy of the Ecological Fund.
Not minding the ever-increasing number of erosion sites in the southeast, several erosion control projects have been successfully tackled in the zone, while many others are ongoing. One of such completed projects that caused the benefiting community to roll out the drums is the Gully Erosion Control and Road Improvement Project in Olo, Oji River Local Government of Enugu State. Funded through the Ecological Fund Office, the project was inaugurated last year by the Senate Committee Chairman on Environment, Senator Oluremi Tinubu. The project, according to the beneficiaries, has brought a new lease of life to the 3 communities that make up Olo.
If it was before, in this rainy season, you won't like what you see here.
The entire Oji River are very, very happy, very, very grateful to the federal government and to the state government.
Also completed and inaugurated is the Phase 1 Obinago Akpo Enugueze erosion site in Udi, Enugu State. The State Commissioner for Environment maintains that governments are working hard to tackle erosion challenges across the state.
We are having some interventions, prompted by the states, some World Bank interventions and some federal government interventions.
Similarly, through the Nigeria Erosion and Watershed Management Project, New Map, about 3 intervention projects have been completed in Anambra State and others are ongoing.
On our own, we are beginning to change some of the practices that lead to erosion, like terminating drainages abruptly. We're encouraging the communities to plant trees, among other things.
The benefiting communities have remained grateful to President Muhammadu Buhari's administration for coming to their rescue. Susan Eze, NTA News.
And you're still watching Weekend File on the network service of the NTA. And we will take another break. And when we return, we will be bringing to you our guest for tonight in the person of Felix Okeke. He is the Director of Soil Erosion and Flood Control in the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. He'll be talking to us on all of the issues have been raised in our reports for tonight. Stay with us, and we'll be right back.
Hot and dry conditions is hard. Causes the body to sweat, which attracts germs that are easily passed from one person to another. What keeps you so cool, man? Dettol Cool combines Dettol's protection and an invincible icy feel. For super cool confidence, use Dettol Cool.
Dettol soap is now also available for 100 Naira only.
Madam. Brought us as usual.
As usual. You have no problem.
For the three
you are welcome, sir.
As usual, yeah? I was
welcome.
You take that one.
Yeah, take that one.
You don't understand? We want Nigerian homegrown rice. Finish. You don't have? You don't have?
Join the rice revolution today.
No other rice that tastes like Nigerian rice. Are you sorry? That's the Nigerian rice we are talking about. Chocolate made in Nigerian rice. Healthy food. I'm going to bring Mrs. to come to chocolate rice of made in Nigeria here. And see how it are made.
Correct.
How they are cook it.
Correct.
Homegrown rice are good for your health. It boosts our economy and give employment to our people.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Now with me here in the studio is Felix Okeke, Director, Soil and Erosion Control. He's from the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. Good evening and welcome to Weekend File.
Good evening, my brother.
All right, you watched the reports that were brought in by our correspondents from different parts of the country. Now, what are your comments based on what you observed?
Well, I think the reports highlighted the activities of the federal government on interventions, especially that have been taking place from 2015 to date by the present administration. The federal government has intervened on a number of projects across the 6 geopolitical zones since 2015. At the last count, I think we have had about 122 to 25 projects, interventions that have been carried on. Some of them are ongoing, some have been completed. Over 80 of them have been completed, and some others ongoing at various stages of completion. So,
all right, let's get to your professional view on the reason why erosion has persisted, despite all the efforts to combat it for decades now. We have over 280 erosion sites across the nation. What is the reason for persistence? And again, it's all over the country.
Yeah, I think the causes of erosion are oftentimes attributed to the way we live, the way we carry on our daily lives. Especially in some areas, take for example, when the soil, when you have soil, you have natural coverings, vegetations and all those type of things that protect the soil. And once you strip the soil of those vegetations, you let them bare and prone to being washed off. You will find out in some parts of the country, especially the southeast, the soil is very loose and friable. And the way we build our houses, the way we farm, some people go in, you build your house, you don't make provision for how to channel the water that comes from your compound. And the water will always find its own way So in the source of doing that, it finds the easiest way. And oftentimes, the loose soils on its parts will start gradually being washed off and gradually, and if it's not attended to, it start developing into, from soil erosion into other things, and becomes of a big magnitude that becomes a problem to the
From the little knowledge some of us who are not professionals in this area know is that it begins through a gradual process.
Yeah, sure.
And perhaps because it's not usually addressed when it is starting, then gradually and silently too, the process continues until it gets to the magnitude that we're talking about today. Now, under normal circumstances, what would have been the initial action to be taken in an area that is prone to erosion?
Now, when in areas that are prone to erosion, when you strip off the soil, especially through farming and all those things, it's expected that you should take necessary steps to ensure that the weeds you have removed, if the agricultural products can be planted so that they can also serve as protection to the soil. But when oftentimes we don't do that, then we find out that there are people, like trees are cut for those who use them for firewood. When you cut off the trees, the soil is exposed and it becomes prone to erosion. So we advise people that it's for us to understand that what are the real causes of this. And if we understand them, then we'll be able to take precautions and know the way we do this. And when people build houses, when you build house, definitely there are runoffs that will come from your house. You should also make provision to how to drain the water away from your distance so that it doesn't on its own start finding its own way. Those are the things we are expected to do as individuals.
These are human activities and of course poor farming methods. Now in Katsina, we were told that desert encroachment is the main factor for erosion in that part of the country. Now, how can this be addressed? Because desert encroachment does not happen in a day. It's also a gradual process, right? So, what should be done in that circumstance?
You see, in the northern fringes of the country, like the Katsina and some other, there are some 11
Kano, for
states, those states that are liable that's desert encroachment. In fact, the desertification is part of the ecological problems that the office is expected to address. And oftentimes, the ecological funds also does things by trying to take interventions in sort of planting trees and growing things to stop that encroachment of the desert. Because in that case, the problem in those places becomes compounded. When you have desertification, which is an ecological problem, then it also creates erosion. Then it becomes multiplied so that it becomes an intervention that will be needed more in those areas, will be more of ensuring that this encroachment of the desert is minimized.
Okay. Before we go to that, this intervention by the current administration has been described by environmentalists as unprecedented. And could you be specific about letting us know the areas currently, being handled by the federal government with respect to the application of ecological fund?
I would say basically more attention has been given to combating erosion, gully and soil erosion, and then flooding, which has become an issue in many communities of the country. Especially, you remember 2012 when there was the massive flooding across. So the attention of the government has focused more on, from the ecological point, has been on trying to combat erosion and flooding. Not much has been done in the area of trying to tackle desertification, because there is another agency, the National Agency for the Great Green Wall, has the mandate of doing that. So that's why much attention has not been given to that area by the Ecological Fund.
Okay. Now let me ask you this very important question, because the viewer might be interested to know this. Now, all types of erosions are not the same. There are types of erosion, right? And perhaps it may be determined by the soil texture of a particular area.
Yeah.
If you are in Anambra, for instance, we have about several, over 800 erosion sites in Anambra State, for instance. Now, what is the approach of the Ecological Fund? I want you to be more professional as an engineer. What I want you to look at is what approach. Is it the same approach to of course, combat erosion, especially in areas where devastation, has taken place?
Well, I think the problems are not the same. In areas, each site has a specific approach, depending on the nature of the soil and the type of the problem you are trying to solve. If you look at, for example, the Nanka, Anglo-Nanka axis, that one is a very monumental distance, and the Ecological Fund had intervened on that axis. But it has been like, because of the resources required to tackle that particular challenge, is beyond what I think the Ecological Fund can do. And I think that particular case has been taken over by the new map. Then there are places you have gullies which are different from areas where you are trying to channel the runoff. So the approach will not be the same. In those cases, you are trying to reclaim the gullied parts with a view to reclaiming the lost land.
Yes.
The other approaches will be to create channels for water to pass without causing damages to the properties.
Because actually, why I ask the question is the fact that if you watched the background report that we showed, before we started this conversation, you will see some infrastructure, schools, people's residential houses, being gradually eroded, and the gully is quite big, and one wonders what could be done in such areas. Is it a possibility? Can the place still be saved?
In some of them, where there are enough resources to quickly reclaim the gullies, you could salvage some of the properties. But when it's left unattended, the chances are that people's properties will be washed off.
Will be damaged.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about solution. I want to take us back to the issue of human activities that often lead to erosion. And one advantage the humans have in this direction is that it's a gradual thing. By the time it starts, you can see it, that it is coming. And when it is ignored for a long time, we begin to get the gullies we're talking about. Now, what should be done to ensure that people have that awareness on the danger of ignoring the erosion when at the beginning?
Well, if you look at the Ecological Fund, in recent time we've started the process of commissioning and handing over projects completed to the benefiting communities. At such fora, we try to highlight what the people are expected to do. And they should know, we try to educate them on what they are supposed to do that will not predispose their environment to such problems. In the past, such things, there had not been such education. And some projects will be completed. You discover that as you are going, the contractor is packing out. The next thing is that people start dumping refuse into those things. And once you block the channels, then water will look for the easiest way to go. And it may trigger up other problems of erosion on other axes.
So what's your general assessment of the intervention by the federal government so far?
No, so far, I think so far the government has done so well. I think it needs a lot of credit. And the problem is that the resources
is not just there.
So limited.
All right. At this point, we have to, stop this conversation as time is beckoning on us. And I'd like to appreciate you one more time for coming here. Felix Okeke, Director of Soil Erosion and Flood Control, the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. Thank you very much indeed for your thoughts. This is Weekend File, and sports is next.
Experience, they say, is the best teacher.
They hold us from the sea. Thank God that we came back home. They should not go there because it's not good. It's a very bad place. So they just might have us.
Even now, sir, if they are shooting the boat they are going to use to go Italy, may they stop it. Our country is good. Our country is a blessed country. Now I know our country is a blessed country. I didn't know before I for not travel from Nigeria to Libya. I know how much I spent.
Let these personal experiences serve as a lesson to all who would repeat their mistakes. A word is enough for the wise.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Nigeria's top table tennis players hope to make it to the finals of the 2018 ITTF tournament, which ends on Sunday as the first junior squash rankings competition ends in Lagos.